Alright, so this is another one of my videos of me redoing nakshatras again. And this one is going to be on Mrigashira, the 5th nakshatra. I don't want to make sure I'm fucking up. Yeah, the 5th nakshatra out of the 27 nakshatras. And this nakshatra spans in the degrees of 23.20 degrees of Taurus all the way to 6.40 degrees of Gemini. And this is going to be a long ass video. It's going to be an hour. I was disgraced at my previous first video of Mrigashira when I was doing my run of these nakshatra videos. That one was 14 minutes, but hey, I only spoke on the little bit of information that I knew. Now I got an hour worth of gems to spit to y'all. So, what is the deity of this nakshatra? The deity of this nakshatra is Chandra, the moon spirit. The symbol of this nakshatra is deer's head. And apparently, the meaning of this nakshatra, the name of the nakshatra, Mrigashira, means literally a deer's head. Or the beginning of the name, Mrig, deals with like to seek and investigate and all that good stuff. What else do I have to say? The yoni animal of this nakshatra is a female cobra, female snake, whatever. And since everybody was so hung up on the fact of my previous nakshatra video, Rohini, of me forgetting or not mentioning that they could have mesmerizing eyes, because that's also a snake yoni nakshatra, I'll make sure I'll start this video with that. You can see that with damn near all the snake related nakshatras, which is Uttarabhadrapada, Aslesha, Rohini, and Mrigashira. These people can have mesmerizing, sexy eyes, because snakes can have those big fucking eyes, or could be known to stereotypically have hypnotic eyes and all that good stuff. Since y'all care about the surface level, superficial shit. But aside for that, you know, since I'm talking about snakes, let's just get all the basic snake nakshatra shit out the fucking way while it's on the top of my mind. I can make sure I don't forget it and stuff. So, as I stated before in the Rohini video, due to my little bit of research that I've done, you know, snakes can be sort of a bit cold, you know. Apparently most snakes, they abandon their eggs, they abandon their children before they're born. Snakes, they predominantly stay to themselves. They don't really travel in groups. They have orgies, and they have random periods of when they hibernate. But they mainly probably only be together in groups when it's an orgy, or when they might hibernate at random periods of times. So aside from having sex and cuddling, those are about the most intimate times. Those are only intimate times of a snake. Fuck, cuddle, fuck them kids. They abandon most of the kids before they're born. That is what I've gathered from my brief little research on snakes for the most part. And snakes, they shed their skin. And snakes, they can also submerge and stay hidden underwater for a long period of time. And one thing you'll see very common with this nakshatra is a theme of rebirth, of like shedding and rebirth this nakshatra. Why? Because the deity of it is Chandra, the moon. And what does the moon do? The moon goes through phases of waxing and waning, being in Shukla Paksha, Krishna Paksha. And if I'm interpreting this right, Krishna Paksha is when the moon is like in its dark phases, it's getting dark, and Shukla Paksha is when the moon is getting brighter, getting whiter, becoming full. So in a sense, the moon sheds in a sense. It dies and then it reborns. Just like the skin on our skin cells. They die and they come back. Just like a snake's skin. They shed their fucking skin. So you'll always see like this theme of rebirth in some way, shape, or form with a Mrigashira person. If it's like their ascendant or their ascendant lord at Makarga or something. These people might have maybe multiple social media accounts. They just keep making new social media accounts. They just keep reinventing themselves. Change their hair, change their name, do something that's very unique that will make them look and appear distinct. Something to set them aside and make them stand out from someone or something or a part of them that they don't identify with no more. But you'll see this theme of rebirth with the, with, you probably say with all the snake yoni, with the snake yoni nakshatras, but specifically this one because you got the moon and the snake, and they both have that similar theme of rebirth and shedding and disappearing and reappearing and whatnot. One thing I forgot to mention about this nakshatra is that it's a Mars ruled nakshatra. I couldn't really think of no themes, nor did I really desire to search too hard for themes in relation to Mars when it comes to this nakshatra, but I figure I might as well tell you that it's a Mars ruled nakshatra, but you probably already fucking knew that. So, what else do I have to say about this nakshatra? Let's jump to some deer facts. And I'm mad that I realized this about deers when it came to this video, because it would have been perfectly with my Honorata and Jeshta video, but I'm not redoing those two videos. Those videos they're perfect enough. But Mrigashira, Jeshta, and Honorata, they all got a theme of a deer associated with them. The Honorata is a female deer, Jeshta is a male deer yoni, and this nakshatra, its symbol is a deer, the head of a deer. So they all have that same similarity. And then, at least if you are on the Taurus side of Mrigashira, what's the opposite of Taurus? Scorpio. They're sister signs. So they'll share very similar themes. What is something that we could see that Mrigashira, Jeshta, and Honorata could probably all have in common? Because of their similarity because of them all having the significations of a deer associated with them. Well, deers are hunted. So what could we say about that in a practical sense? We could say that for Mrigashira people, Jeshta people, and Honorata people, they will always feel as though that there is someone pursuing them. There is someone after them. That's how they'll feel, that someone is always pursuing them. Someone is always after them. So they always feels like I said, someone's after and out to get them, with this symbol being a deer's head. And it makes sense for Jeshta because Indra is paranoid and anxious and fearful that someone's going to take him off his throne, just the same way he took off Varuna. And Honorata makes sense. Well, Honorata might not make sense that they feel as though someone is always after them, but I would still attribute that theme because deers are hunted and killed. And the theme of Mrigashira always feels as though someone is after them makes sense because of Chandra. Chandra, Soma, whichever name you want to call him, he was cursed by Daksha, the god of, I think it's known as the god of rituals or sacrifices. He's the one that ends up getting a goat head after Shiva ends up fucking up this great yagna that he hosts. But Chandra gets cursed by Daksha because the 27 nakshatras was considered to be like the daughters of Daksha, and Chandra, the moon, was supposed to love all 27 of the nakshatras, all 27 of the daughters equally, but he showed favoritism towards Rohini. And the girls complained. He didn't listen to Daksha, so Daksha cursed Chandra to end up having to die. Chandra ends up praying and doing rituals to gain the favor and assistance of Shiva. Shiva ends up healing Chandra and not removing the curse, because one thing I have noticed from, I don't know, learning the nakshatras and a little bit of the gods and deities is that curses can't necessarily be removed. They can only be modified and altered. So Shiva ends up making it so that Chandra, he will always, be reborn when he dies. And the moon dies in a literal sense when it becomes a new moon. It becomes dark. And then it goes and becomes a full moon. So Daksha cursed him to die, and Shiva blessed and healed him to be able to always come back like a phoenix coming out of, a grave or the ashes or whatever and stuff. So that connection with, like I told you, a deer being hunted, and therefore these people can always feel as though someone was after them. Mrigashira person, because of that story I just told you about Chandra being cursed by Daksha, they might feel as though that they'll be cursed, or that they are cursed, or someone cursed them, or that someone is after them, because that's what Chandra had to deal with. He had to go to war because he ended up fucking and getting the wife of Brihaspati, the guru of the Devas, the personification of the planet Jupiter. He ended up getting his wife pregnant. And Jupiter raged like a war against the moon. So, yet again, Chandra had somebody else after him. And he had another man's wife. I mean, he had a woman's husband after him. He had Daksha after him. Deers are hunted. So like I said, a Mrigashira person will always feel as though that they are hunted, or that the enemy is after them in a sense. What else can I say about deer? Let me tell you how cold a motherfucking deer can be. I didn't fucking know this shit. A female deer will eat her own fetus. I didn't know this. She will abort her own baby and eat her own fetus if she is in harsh conditions and environments and is in risk and fear of being malnourished. She will end that motherfucking bloodline and eat that baby up right then and there. She don't give a fuck about no damn Supreme Court saying that you can't have no damn abortion. She gonna eat that damn fetus. But yeah, a female deer will apparently eat her own fetus if she is put in harsh environments. You could really attribute this. You could really attach this knowledge to Anuradha nakshatra, because that one is the female yoni. But since the symbol of this nakshatra is the head of a deer, I'm just hitting all the deer facts a little bit in relation to this nakshatra. So what else do I got to say? Because I took a lot of notes, so I'm looking at my phone to make sure I'm not missing nothing. So deers are also very social fucking animals. They tend to be in groups and herds and all that stuff, and that makes sense. You'll probably see more so obviously the social side and characteristics of a deer and the Gemini side of Mrigashira, because obviously the Gemini side is ruled by Mercury. Mercury is communication and all that good stuff. And Chandra, he stays in a sign for 2.5 days. He stays in a nakshatra for 1 day. And, it's the mythological lore. One of the lores and myths is that the 27 nakshatras are essentially the wives or girlfriends of the moon. So he's like a player in a sense. And he's talking to a different nakshatra, a different deity, or a different woman, a different whatever, every day. So that communicative side of Mrigashira, that communicative side of a deer being in groups and herds is really more so emphasized and highlighted in the Gemini side of this nakshatra. And then obviously, with the symbol of this nakshatra being a deer's head, and the name Mrigashira is supposed to literally mean like a deer's head or whatever, the number one thing that comes to my mind is Rahu. Because we're talking about a head. And as I've stated before in other little videos, the head is the only part of the body that contains all 5 of the senses. And the moon, well, how do I want to go about explaining this? But there we go. A deer has a very strong nose. There we go. The deer has a very strong nose. And it says that from this screenshot that I took, they communicate through visual, vocal, and chemical means. They have a scent produced in various parts of the body that gives important information such as this physique, sex, social status, and whether there is danger looming in an area. So deers, they have a very strong nose. I think their nose, don't exactly quote me on this, is 100 times more stronger than a human. And the moon is always moving. It stays in a nakshatra for one day, so it's always wandering. There's a wandering nature when it comes to Mrigashira. So, and also the name of the moon, alternative name of the moon is Soma. Soma is an elixir of the gods, the devas. You know, it's the drink that Indra drinks, that empowers him, that sort of gets him intoxicated and high and rejuvenates him. I'm almost forgetting where I'm going with this. Back to the symbolism of the head. So you see, in a sense, sort of similar to Rahu, because Rahu is the head of the dragon. A Mrigashira person, they want to fulfill their 5 senses. They are constantly looking for that soma. They are constantly looking for this elixir. They are on a constant search for this high, for this ecstasy. They want that perfect everything. They want the perfect, and maybe more so on the Taurus side, because the Taurus side, you know, is the eyebrows to the chin. So it's the eyes, the nose, the ears, the face. So maybe on that side, they're very more sensual. They really want to more so fulfill their sensual, physical pleasures. Maybe on that side, they want to eat the best food, smell the best perfumes, hear the best music. Maybe, yeah, hear the best music, especially, you know, in Taurus and Gemini. Gemini is Mercury, and Mercury is the communication and all that good stuff. So, yeah, they could really want to hear good music. They want to fulfill all the senses. Good food, good smells, good music. Look at aesthetically beautiful things. But they can also be cold. They can be a player, because like what I told you. The snake, they come together for sex and orgies, and they hibernate and cuddle, and then they be on their own. So, you know, they have that wandering nature. They are constantly searching. They're constantly wandering. They are, and even though they might be a player, they do desire unionship. They do desire partnership, because like I told you, deers, they travel in packs and groups. And this nakshatra is also associated with Parvati and Sati. But I don't want to get too far off track. I want to wrap up my points. But I feel as though you might get this point already, that, you know, just like a deer is always wandering, and a deer has a strong nose, and the alternative name for Chandra, the moon spirit, is Soma. And Soma is this elixir of the gods, an elixir that Indra heavily guards and protects, something that the Suras desperately wants and desires, something that's heavily sought after. That's sort of like the theme of this, one of the main themes of this nakshatra. They are heavily seeking the soma of their life. You know, they could be seeking that perfect, best relationship or sex. And once they find that perfect sex, they might be like, this was good, but I think I might want another one. And they'll just keep wandering. They'll keep searching. You know, they'll be a player. They'll be like the moon, who just keeps bouncing around from nakshatra to nakshatra to nakshatra to nakshatra. Their romantic affairs could end up getting them fucked up, just like the moon. Chandra had to, he ended up having to go to war against Jupiter because he had sex with his wife, with Jupiter's wife. Chandra ends up getting cursed by Daksha because he wanted to stay with one nakshatra. He just wanted to stay with one wife. And he didn't want to give the other nakshatras, the other women, any love. So he ended up getting cursed. And then back to further strengthen my point of me saying that these people always feel as though someone is after them, let's not forget that it was Sun and Moon who end up snitching to Lord Vishnu about Swabhanu disguising himself as a deva to get the elixirs. And to put that in English for some people who might not obviously know, Swabhanu is the full body form of Rahu and Ketu before they was split and decapitated. It was the luminaries, Sun and Moon, who was able to see that Swabhanu, before he got decapitated, became Rahu and Ketu, was posing as a deva, waiting to get the elixir, Soma. So after they did that, they want revenge on Sun and Moon, and they get their revenge when they have their solar and lunar eclipses. So the Moon had Jupiter come after him, Daksha come after him, and Rahu and Ketu come after him. So you're going to have enemies coming after you for sure, or feel as though someone's coming after you when you have prominent planets in this nakshatra indefinitely. And you'll probably more so feel those enemies on your ass on the Gemini side. And the reason I say you'll probably more so feel those enemies coming on your ass on the Gemini side is because your 6th house is Scorpio. And the 6th house is a house of debts. And it's debts, the karma, that bill that you can't avoid, that you have to face and deal with in this lifetime. And Scorpio originally rules the 8th house. Scorpio is a fixed water sign. Scorpio is associated with Ketu, past life karma, and I always like to think of Scorpio as like a clogged, backed up toilet. Just backed up water. You just got backed up water that hasn't drained, and it's just a whole bunch of vomit, blood, and shit in the toilet. And now you got to go and do the dirty work and plunge and unclog that toilet before you can move on and take your number 2 or whatever you're going to do to that toilet. You can't create more shit until you deal with the shit that you have to deal with. So Scorpio, in my practical opinion, and the Gemini, being in the 6th house, which means that you are a Gemini ascendant, will show that you have heavy karma to deal with the 6th house things. So the 6th house is also diseases. And I told you that Chandra, he was cursed to die. So yeah, Chandra was cursed to die. And the moon, the actual graha, is also associated with medicine. I think Chandra, or the moon, is known as like a lord of animals and medicine also. So what is the 6th house known as? It's associated with animals and pets, and it's associated with diseases. So we see that the Gemini side of Mrigashira will have heavy karma to pay with, heavy transformation to pay and deal with when it comes to bills and, well, I mean, not the bills, fuck the bills. Heavy karma and bills to deal with when it comes to diseases, health, and seeking a cure, seeking like an elixir to overcome that illness. And then Scorpio it's the sexual organs. So maybe sexual diseases. A Gemini native could be more susceptible to maybe sexual diseases, or sexual misconducts is one of the heavy karmas that the Mrigashira side and Gemini, the Gemini side of Mrigashira, will have to heavily deal with potentially. What else? But that's another thing about Mrigashira. While it's on the top of my head, is that a Mrigashira person, they are probably more likely, especially more so on the Gemini side, they will probably have a near-death experience, or they'll suffer like a terrible illness, probably get very sick or something, near-death experience, get terribly ill, and they'll probably seek somebody out or something to overcome this illness or this tragedy that they have experienced, much like Chandra did seeking out Shiva. And then after you seek that person out and you get healed, you'll change your life, because Chandra's life was basically permanently changed after meeting Shiva, because now he waxes and wanes. He dies and is reborn. And then Shiva is depicted having, a crescent moon in his hair. So we see that there's this connection with Chandra and Shiva, Soma and Shiva. And Shiva / Rudra, who rules the next nakshatra, Ardra, is known to be one of the best healers, one of the best physicians, or just the best healers. So, I don't know. The Gemini side, you might have a heavy karma with being a healer, a doctor, or you just significantly changing your life, becoming devoted to someone or something after experiencing a terrible illness or near-death experience. That could probably be seen in the Gemini side more so of Mrigashira. And you see this theme of medicine probably in the Gemini side, and just in Gemini nakshatras general. So, for example, I just told you about Mrigashira and how Soma / Chandra was cursed and went to Shiva to get healed, right? Well, the next nakshatra is Ardra. Ardra is smack dab in the middle of Gemini, and Rudra, the deity of Ardra, is known to be a great healer also, a lord of like medicine and stuff. And he's also associated with like animals and stuff. And then the following nakshatra after fucking Ardra is Ponyovasu. Now, this one is more so of a stretch. I couldn't really think of a healing medicinal example to throw out to you for the Gemini side of Ponyovasu. But if you look at, if you think about Aditi, because she's the deity of Ponyovasu, it is stated that she was cursed by Buddha, aka Mercury, the biological son of Moon. She was cursed by him to have like a miscarriage, because apparently, maybe, at least according to what I've read in one of Victor Carr's nakshatra books and looking at his videos, Mercury ends up cursing Aditi because he grew like impatient, waiting for her to greet him because she was pregnant and dealing with kids. So he made her miscarry the kids, since the kids seemed to be like a burden. So even though that's not like a medicinal thing, but you still see something with like death or something. But I don't know. I'm pretty sure on the Gemini side of Ponyovasu, maybe you can find, if I think a little bit harder, you could probably find something in relation to like diseases and medicine. But definitely on Ponyovasu, at least for the Cancer side, the 5th house becomes Scorpio. So you can definitely say from maybe the Cancer side of Ponyovasu that those people, they will have maybe heavy karma. Obviously heavy karma to be dealt with when it comes to children. And we see that one of Aditi's heavy karmas is that she had a lot of goddamn children. She's known as the goddess of the mother of all the gods, the goddess of all the gods or whatever. And she ended up miscarrying a kid thanks to Mercury, but it was ended up being brought back to life due to her husband. But we'll get to Ponyovasu another time. We're focusing on Mrigashira, but you see that Gemini in general, they just have, even when you look at the nakshatras, they have like a heavy 6th house karma when it comes to pets and healing and medicine. Something in relation to that. And then obviously with the Taurus side of Mrigashira, that is where you'll see more so of the heavy karma when it comes to children. The heavy negative karma when it comes to children. As I told you, the female deer will eat her own fetus in hard conditions. A snake will abandon its kids before it's even born. And then when you even look at all the Taurus nakshatras, you start off with Kritika. I think the bird associated with that is a peacock. The peacock is synonymous with Krishna because he has a peacock feather. Krishna was born in like a jail or something, and he was raised by people who wasn't his biological parents. He was like adopted. And then you have Kartikeya is associated with Kritika. He had an unusual birth. He wasn't raised by his biological parents either. You go to Rohini. You have Brahma and him having difficult relationships with Rudra / Shiva and all his children. And then you have here Mrigashira. At least not to my knowledge, Chandra, aka Soma, the moon deity, moon spirit, he wasn't like some active present father in the life of Mercury, in the life of Buddha. So Buddha, whatever, you know what the hell I'm trying to say, because it's spelled Budha. It's not Buddha, which would be clearly Buddha. It's like Buddha, but whatever. He wasn't like a present figure in Mercury's life. So you see that difficult karma with children for Taurus and all of the nakshatras. And as I stated in Rohini nakshatra, Taurus sign, especially guys like your ascendant or your 7th lord or your Venus, it's naturally a difficult sign for relationships in general, with Libra being in the 6th house and Scorpio being in the 7th house. And then all the mutable ascendants and 7th lords and Venuses, they naturally have difficult relationship karmas too. So on the Gemini side, you know, Mercury is the ascendant lord. And obviously your 7th lord is going to be Jupiter. Mercury is the stepson of Jupiter. And Mercury and Jupiter mythologically do not have a good relationship because it is Jupiter who ends up cursing Mercury to be born with like 2 genders, two sexes, 2 sexual organs. So Mercury starts off being like generally confused, and I believe Mercury just ends up leaving home and trying to find himself. He becomes like a devotee of Vishnu and stuff. So he did not have a great relationship with his biological father, Moon, and he didn't have a good relationship with his stepfather, Jupiter. So therefore, knowing that you are a Gemini ascendant, you gotta look at the relationship of your ascendant lord with basically every house in its ruling planet. So we know that Mercury does not have a good relationship with Jupiter, and Jupiter does not have a good relationship with Mercury. So therefore, we can naturally see that a person who has any of the mutable ascendants, because the mutable signs is either ruled by Mercury and Jupiter, we know that there's going to be natural tension or some type of animosity on that 1-7 axis. And just like the moon is always wandering and it's always moving, and a deer is always wandering, looking for that perfect soma, looking for that elixir, looking for that high, always searching with its nose, you can see that the Gemini side of Mrigashira will highlight more so of that searching and wandering and looking for that perfect romantic spouse, that partner. Because obviously if you're a Gemini ascendant, you're going to embody some of the characteristics of Mercury in the 3rd house, which is communication and short distance travels. And then the 7th house will become ruled by Sagittarius, who originally rules the 9th house, which is associated with long distance travel. So we can see naturally for a Gemini ascendant or Sagittarius ascendant or Gemini Sag seventh lord or Venus, there would be maybe naturally you can say that there would be some theme in regards to having to search and wander for that partner. For that partner that you want, that you look for, you'll have to search or go that extra distance or something for that partner. Trying to see what else I have to say. Right now, I'm really just speaking off the top of my head for the most part without looking at my notes. So now I'll talk about why this nakshatra has like an association with Parvati, who is known to be a mother goddess, I believe. And if I'm wrong, forgive me. But definitely, she is known predominantly to be the wife of Shiva. There we go. I think Parvati is like an earth goddess, and I'm not too proud or shameful to fucking Google it to make sure I'm not looking dumb right now. But I'll keep talking as I'm fucking Googling to make sure. But essentially, Parvati is considered to be a reincarnation of Sati, who was Shiva's first wife. And what is this association with Parvati and Mrigashira? I didn't really understand it at first. I didn't understand it at first until I really sat and thought, like, what is the connection with this? So yeah, I was correct. She is a mother goddess, fertility, maybe mountain goddess and all that good stuff. But the connection is this. You see, Chandra, aka Soma, is like a triangle. Soma, Daksha, Shiva. You have that same triangle again when it comes with Sati, the first wife of Shiva. Sati, Daksha, Shiva. Chandra, Parvati / Sati, they all have the connection of Daksha and Shiva. So let's talk briefly about Sati, the first wife and incarnation of Shiva. So, and you can sort of connect this story with maybe the goat yoni nakshatras, because Daksha has a goat head. And you can connect this story with Purva Falguni, because Bhaga is the deity of Purva Falguni, and he is a part of this story because this story is all about the great yajna. So Sati is a woman who is one of the daughters of Daksha, and she desired to be married to and be with Shiva. And Daksha did not approve of his daughter being with Shiva. He did not want her to be with Shiva. But she wanted him. And I believe she did severe penances and prayers, and she went above and beyond to gain the attention of Shiva and to be with him. She finally is with him. They get married and stuff, I believe. And eventually, fast forward, Daksha ends up holding some yajna, some fire ritual one day, and invites all these gods and stuff. And he didn't invite Shiva, and he didn't invite Shiva or Sati. He didn't invite his son-in-law and his daughter. And Sati, she wanted to go to this yajna even though she wasn't invited. And Shiva didn't want to go because he feels though that they shouldn't go there if they wasn't invited. But she goes anyway, and when she goes to this fire ritual, her father ends up, bashing Shiva and her, and, she couldn't take it. So she ends up committing suicide. She ends up going into the fire and killing herself. And that's when Shiva appears, crashes the fire ritual and fucks everybody up and rips off the head of Daksha, but then eventually fixes everything and give Daksha a new head, which is the head of a goat. And that's essentially the main mythological lore and story of Sati. And it's stated that Parvati is essentially like the reincarnation of Sati, the rebirth of Sati. But what can you take from this story, and how can you connect it to Mrigashira? Well, we'll start off the name Sati. Sati is apparently a practice in Buddhism, And apparently sati is another type of practice that is, I'm looking at my notes in my phone real quick. Sati is a Sanskrit word that means a good woman or a chaste wife. It was an Indian custom of a wife immolating herself either on the funeral pyre of her dead husband or in some other fashion soon after his death. Although never widely practiced, sati was the ideal of womanly devotion held by certain Brahmin and royal castes. So essentially, sati, or sati, however you want to pronounce it, was or is a practice of basically a woman throwing herself into a fire and killing herself, which is what his first wife, Sati, literally did. And you see, like I said, the connection is Daksha and Shiva. That's what Chandra and Sati have in common. This connection of Daksha and Shiva. Daksha ends up cursing Chandra. Daksha doesn't like Shiva. Shiva ends up altering the curse that Daksha did to Chandra. So there's this natural animosity that Daksha has towards Shiva. And there's this natural rebellion of Chandra and Sati / Parvati going towards the thing that Daksha doesn't want. So a Mrigashira person can naturally go against societal norms. They'll naturally want to, they could probably naturally seek out and desire to pursue that outcast partner, a partner that their father would not approve or something, because Daksha did not approve of Shiva. And just like Shiva's first wife killed herself because her father was talking bad about her husband in front of her, you can theorize that the Mrigashira person can be more susceptible to committing suicide or self-harm over love. They're more susceptible probably to committing suicide over in regards to love. Because, oh man, my love was not I don't know. I can't even come up with a great example, but she couldn't take that her husband was being talked about. And she ended up killing herself. So, who knows? You might effing kill yourself if you suffer a terrible breakup or something in regards to this nakshatra. But like I said, you just see that theme again of Sati desiring to be with someone who's different. Soma being this elixir. The deer having a strong nose and seeking out things, and this nakshatra dealing with searching and wandering and that perfect high, that perfect scent, that perfect partner, that uniqueness. You see that search, you see that wandering nature of this nakshatra, and this story shows how you can play out the role or theme of Sati / Parvati when it comes to finding and wanting and seeking that ideal partner, and that if you can't have that partner, you might kill yourself. If you can't have your partner or the love story that you want in this lifetime, you might kill yourself. Or if you can't have that perfect elixir, that soma, or that perfect high of whatever the hell it is that you want, you don't want to live at all. And I mean, the suicide side might be more so prominent seen in maybe the Shanta houses and malefic impacts and all that good stuff, but that's one of the natural themes you can see with Mrigashira. And another thing I forgot to mention in regards to a deer is the golden deer story, the golden deer lore in regards to Lord Ram and his wife, whose name is also known as Sati, I believe. and how his wife ended up seeing a golden deer, and she wanted her husband to go and get it. When he got to the deer ended up being a demon. Yeah, his wife sees a golden deer. He goes after the golden deer. And the deer ended up being a demon. His wife ends up getting captured, and he goes in this big journey to go and get her. The story and theme of that is that when it comes to the deer yoni nakshatras, or the nakshatras in relation to a deer, you would see that you can see that these people can always chase, in a metaphorical sense, that golden deer in their life. They will always chase something that they think that they'll always chase something that they think that they want, or that they need, or that they think that they're chasing that right thing, and then when they get to that right thing that they think that they're going after, they are disappointed that it wasn't it. It wasn't enough. It was the wrong thing. They was chasing after the wrong thing. They went after the wrong thing. They're hurt and they're disappointed. Which, just like I said, it just builds up my case even more that this nakshatra just deals with searching and wandering for that perfect thing, for that perfect elixir, for that perfect high, that perfect partner, that perfect food, that perfect music, that perfect scent, that perfect aesthetic. You want all of the senses of the head to be stimulated, and you're just constantly searching and roaming. You're searching for your Rohini, because the moon loved Rohini. And I find it funny that moon loved Rohini. When you look up what is the exact degrees of moon's exaltations, I believe we look at the degrees of Taurus, it ends up falling into Kritika nakshatra and not being Rohini, which is odd. But you will be Chandra. You will be looking for that. You'll be looking for your Rohini, or in a sense, you'll be Parvati, looking for your Shiva. So in a sense, this can also be a very spiritual or divine nakshatra, in a sense, because Chandra, he became devoted to Shiva. Shiva has a crescent moon in his head, and I don't know. You could just make a connection with Shiva and the moon. Shiva has an affinity for animals. Shiva has an affinity for healing. So healing, mystical arts can be associated with this nakshatra. But like I said, you'll probably see that more so after some maybe traumatic health issue or accident maybe occurs in your life or something. Or maybe your romantic partner will get you closer to the divine, because Parvati is in a romantic divine union with Shiva. So maybe more so on that Gemini side, you'll attract that Jupiterian, Sagittarian, 7th house partner who can get you closer to the divine, like Parvati with Shiva. What else do I have to say about this nakshatra before I lose my train of thought? I'm looking at my notes. 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 I already talked about the rebirth nature. Obviously, this nakshatra can be a great researcher. Very intellectual nakshatra. Because you could say that this nakshatra is symbolic of the birth of intelligence, because it was through Chandra and his affair with Tara, the wife of Jupiter, that created Mercury, the practical, logical planet. And yeah, you could say that this nakshatra is the birth of intelligence. This nakshatra can make someone a very great researcher, a very great studier. You can apply that deer nature, that strong deer nose nature, that strong sense of finding that perfect thing, to intelligence. So you could just be, I don't know, finding the perfect elixir, the perfect words to say in your book, the perfect words to speak and communicate, the perfect knowledge, the perfect information to put out into the world, to write in your book, to put in your podcast, whatever. You can be searching for that perfect information. And after you learn something great, after you learn something amazing, it probably isn't enough. You just want to keep learning more and more and more. You want to keep giving yourself that high, that weed, that coke, that alcohol. You want to just keep giving yourself that high when it comes to intelligence. It's like, wow, I cracked this puzzle. I want to crack another puzzle. I solved this mystery. I want to solve another mystery. I came up with this method and technique, and I translated this. I broke down this. I want to do it. I want to do another one. It's giving me a high. So in a sense, almost how Ponyovasu just like Ponyovasu nakshatra has a theme of repetition and death and rebirth. This nakshatra has a theme of death and rebirth because of the snake shedding its skin and the moon going through its phases, and because this form of rebirth and repetition could be more so due to you getting a thrill out of it, you getting a high out of it. You see, the Shakti of this nakshatra that we must not forget is to give fulfillment and joy. I'm just making sure. Yes, the Shakti of this nakshatra is to give fulfillment and joy. This nakshatra, it wants to get the fulfillment and joy out of everything in life. And when you getting a high out of something, when you getting that good extraction out of something, you want more of it. You find a good place to eat, you're gonna eat there all the time. You found a good hairstylist, salonist, whatever, barbershop, you want to keep going there. They give you that bomb ass look that you want. Or you find someone who sells great stuff at a low price, you're going to keep going there and going there and going there, and you're going to want to keep getting it. That's what you're going to want to keep doing. You want to keep abusing that elixir, you know. So now I'm looking at my notes to see what else do I have to say, making sure that I'm not missing nothing else with this nakshatra. I be feeling bad because I look a little bit unprofessional, but I'd rather look unprofessional now than I finish my videos and I'd be like, fuck, I missed this in my video. And then just in general stuff with this nakshatra, you know, if you have this nakshatra maybe in regards to like your 10th house and 10th lord and 4th house and 4th lord, then that wandering and searching theme can really be present in your, you know, in the 10th house, it can be associated with the career. You might not keep a job. You will always leave your job maybe for the next highest bidder. They can pay maybe 50 cents more, $1 more. You'll jump ship, go to another job. You'll probably always be searching for that perfect job because the job that you're at probably will never be good enough for you. 4th house, you'll probably always be moving. Or maybe when you was a kid, you probably always moved a lot. You didn't have a stable upbringing. You always had to move. If it's associated to 7th house, maybe you always had to, you know, you had maybe you had a lot of good partners, but you just couldn't stay with them for whatever reason. You might have been the problem. You couldn't satisfy your hunger. You know, this is like a nakshatra. Aside from that search and wandering theme on a romantic sense, you desire a unionship. You desire a partnership, but you also might get tired and bored of that partner that you're with. You're probably like, fuck, this partner was cool, this partner was fun, but I lost that elixir. I lost that high. Everybody can relate to this because things are going to get slow in a relationship in general. Whether it's a romantic relationship, a friendship, the beginning is fun. You're getting to know that person, and maybe, you know, the sex is great and exciting, but after a while, things become routine. They stop doing the things that they used to do, and you're not getting that same spark no more. You're not getting that same high no more. You're not getting that same elixir. The drugs are stepped on, it's stretched, it ain't the same. So now you're going to go look for someone else that's going to give you that same high that you caught in the beginning. It's nothing like your first time, nothing like your first impression. That first feeling, whether it's that first time doing drugs, liquor, sex, first encounter with somebody. That first encounter, whether it's a very good encounter or a very bad encounter, it has like a strong tattoo imprint on your soul, on your mind. And it's hard to get rid of it. It's hard to top it or something. So these people, they want to try to keep that high going in their romantic relationships. And when they can't keep that high going in their romantic relationships, they might be quick to jump ship. But don't get it twisted. They do want a relationship. They do want a union. But they just probably want to just keep that high. Keep that feeling going. But also if it's associated with the 7th house and 7th lord, you might date people or attract people who might feel as though someone is after them. Or you might date people who might, you know, they might be your enemy. You might be the deer and they might be the hunter. Who knows? But remember that deer being hunted theme when it comes to your ascendant in the 7th lord. Now, another thing when it comes to my notes is that since the deity of this nakshatra is the moon, you can associate this, at least I do, you can associate this nakshatra basically with nighttime activities. And it's ironic because I said the same thing when it came to Shittabhashad nakshatra, because that one is a nakshatra ruled by Varuna, and he rules the nighttime sky. And you know that nakshatra is ruled by, it's a Rahu root nakshatra. Aquarius is stated to be co-ruled by Rahu. Rahu is the head. This nakshatra is a deer's head. And that nakshatra is ruled by Varuna, the original ruler of the Devas before Indra took him down. You know, he's associated with healing and medicine. Just like this nakshatra can be associated with healing and medicine. So there's a similarity also between this nakshatra, Indra, and also Varuna. But you can associate this nakshatra similar to Shittabhashad nakshatra with nighttime activities because the moon is most visible at night when the sun is down. So nighttime activities, they can be criminal activities. You could probably see criminals associated with more. You can see a criminal of any nakshatra, but maybe I'm just freestyling. You could probably see prominently a lot of criminals with Mrigashira nakshatra. After they hit one heist, they hit one lick, they rob an ATM, a bank, or a person. They pull that heist off, that identity theft, that credit card scam. They want more. They want more of that high. They just keep pursuing it. They want more and more and more and more. And because they're never satisfied, they eventually get caught. They eventually get locked up. And now they are becoming religious and spiritual in their own metaphorical sense. They're looking for their own Shiva, in a sense, to save them from the situation that they got themselves into because they didn't want to listen. What else? And if you might see that these people, you know, might have an affinity for dogs and wolves. Maybe wolves. All dogs, apparently, from what I Googled, they can trace their lineage back to wolves. Wolves stereotypically howl at the moon. So maybe these people, they really love to have, I mean, I told you that this nakshatra can be associated with pets and animals, but they might favor dogs and wolves naturally. These people might have an unusual birth also, because there's apparently many different tales about how Chandra was born, but one of them was him being born during the churning of the ocean in the ocean of milk, where the gods and the asuras was trying to get the elixir to come out of the ocean. And one of the things that came out of the ocean while they was trying to get the real Soma was Chandra. And he was so bright and blinding and luminous that apparently the gods, they decided to make him a Graha. So, I don't know. Like I said, a Mrigashira person therefore might have a very unusual and unique birth. And I'm seeing what else do I have to say. But note, that is all that I have to say with this nakshatra. Just to completely reiterate, make sure with the snakes, because I know y'all love the snake shit. Snakes have beautiful eyes. They are very sexual and horny. Snakes love water. The moon is one of the things that it's associated with is water. So these people, they can love to drink. Snakes and asuras and dragons and Rahu and Ketu, they all synonymous. So you can just love to drink. Especially more so on the Taurus side. These people are very alert. A deer is hunted. They have strong senses. But you know, a deer is also, you know, involved in a lot of automobile accidents. So much like, you know, Honorata and Jason Nakshatra, you could probably say the same thing for Mrigashira, that these people are very susceptible to getting into automobile accidents. He always feels that their life is in jeopardy. Someone is trying to curse them, hex them or something, poison them, and that they always got to go search for a cure, search for a medicine, search for some way to undo this illness that they are dealing with. And it's that search for that cure for their illness that can make them a great doctor, veterinarian, healer, pediatrician, whatever. Or that change from recovering from a near-death experience can make them real devoted to a divinity, make them subscribe to a religion or something. What else? I already told you that the Gemini side has the more so of a heavier karma with diseases, and that Taurus more so has a heavier karma with children. Chandra wasn't really involved in the life of Mercury to my knowledge, but the Taurus side and Gemini side, they both have difficult relationship karmas. From just a sign perspective and just from a nakshatra perspective, they both have difficult relationship karma. Chandra seeked and desired, he sought out the help of and has a connection with Shiva, just like Parvati and Sati has. You know, they have a connection and affinity towards Shiva. And you could be more susceptible to kill yourself or commit self-harm in regards to love and breakups, or maybe if you do not find that perfect thing. If you cannot have, you're willing to die for the thing that you want. Because Chandra was told, hey, you need to love the other woman, you just can't stay with Rohini. He stayed with Rohini. He got cursed to death until he got Shiva to help him. Sati, Daksha did not want her to be with Shiva. She was with Shiva. She goes to this fire ritual that she wasn't invited to. She is ridiculed. Her husband is ridiculed. She commits suicide. So you're willing to die over the things that you love, that you're passionate about when it comes to this nakshatra. And I already told you the Shakti of this nakshatra, to give fulfillment and joy, and how you can have an affair with a person who is married because Chandra had sex with Tara. The moon is also very beautiful, you know? The moon is always beautiful. It's like eternal beauty. It's always bright and beautiful. And you'll go through many phases of your life where you're having a death and rebirth, where you might not be identifying with a side of yourself that isn't you no more. Because like I told you, the snake shed its skin, the moon goes through its phases. There's many rebirths in your life. Whether it's you shaving your hair all off, you creating many different social media accounts, or you doing something crazy to just rebrand yourself. We can just see that shedding of a skin in a literal metaphorical sense when it comes to this nakshatra. And that's all I have to say when it comes to this nakshatra. I hope this gave you great clarity and understanding with this nakshatra. And I'll see you whenever I redo another one of my nakshatra videos and stuff. See you when I make my next one.